I played these open-world games not to rush objectives, not to chase achievements, but to understand how different worlds make you feel when you slow down. Some worlds challenge you. Some comfort you. Some make you feel lost on purpose. An open world is more than a map. It's the silence between encounters, the moments when nothing happens, and yet, everything feels alive. These are not reviews. They're impressions, memories created by walking, observing, and existing inside these worlds. This is what I felt playing these open-world games. Don't forget to like, comment, and follow me so you don't miss any videos. Let's get started. I played Elden Ring and felt unwelcome immediately. The world doesn't explain itself. It doesn't guide you. It simply exists, indifferent to your presence. Exploration feels dangerous. Every direction could lead to discovery or death. There are no clear paths, only curiosity and risk. When you find something, it feels earned, not given. This open world doesn't care if you're ready. It challenges patience, attention, and persistence. Elden Ring isn't about comfort. It's about respect for a world that refuses to adapt to you. Elden Ring is a third-person action RPG developed by From Software that expands on the acclaimed formula of the Souls series, incorporating elements seen in Bloodborne and Sekiro, but taking it all to a much larger scale. The game combines challenging combat, deep exploration, and freedom of choice in a vast open world known as the Lands Between, creating an experience that rewards curiosity, patience, and strategy. At the beginning of the journey, the player is introduced to more linear and guided areas, serving as a preparation for the game's systems. As you progress, the world opens up completely, allowing you to freely explore vast regions, imposing castles, abandoned fortresses, hidden catacombs, and ruins scattered across the map. The Lands Between are divided into 6 main areas, each ruled by a demigod who acts as the central boss of that region, in addition to countless enemies and optional challenges. Exploration is one of the central pillars of Elden Ring. Unlike previous From Software games, travel around the world is facilitated by a mount, which becomes the primary means of transportation, and also an important tool in combat. It is possible to fight while mounted, use specific abilities, and quickly traverse great distances, although the game also offers a fast travel system between key points on the map. The areas are interconnected by a central point that functions as a hub, reminiscent of classic structures from the Souls series, but adapted to the open-world proposal. Combat retains the classic identity of the franchise. Calculated melee battles, a focus on reading enemy patterns, precise dodges, strategic blocks, and intelligent use of skills and magic. The stamina bar returns as an important element, although less punitive than in previous titles, allowing for a more fluid combat rhythm. In addition, Elden Ring incorporates stealth, inspired by Sekiro, encouraging tactical and silent approaches against certain enemies. Unlike Sekiro, there is no direct resurrection system after death, but the game introduces mechanics that reduce frustration and encourage continuous progression, even after frequent defeats. Death remains a fundamental part of the experience, serving as a learning tool rather than just punishment. Character customization is one of the richest aspects of the game. Instead of traditional skill trees, the player discovers new abilities by exploring the world, defeating enemies, and finding rare items. These skills can be swapped between weapons, offering enormous freedom in creating builds. Weapons, armor, spells, and craftable items allow each player to shape their character according to their playstyle, whether focused on brute force, agility, magic, or hybrid combinations. Another important highlight is the spirit summoning system. Throughout the world, players can find and collect spirits of allies that can be summoned in certain areas to help in battles. These spirits include creatures, warriors, and even previously defeated enemies, functioning as strategic support and adding new layers to combat, especially against more challenging bosses. The game also maintains the traditional multiplayer mode of the Souls series, allowing other players to be summoned for cooperation or faced in invasions, reinforcing the community and unpredictable aspect of the experience. Overall, Elden Ring is an ambitious evolution of the Souls formula, a game that combines demanding combat, rewarding exploration, and a mysterious world that invites the player to get lost, experiment, and discover secrets on their own. It's an experience that respects From Software's characteristic difficulty, but offers more freedom than ever for each player to forge their own path through the lands between.
Looks clear.
A trap! The time of cleansing draws nigh.
Who now will save us from the coming darkness?
I played Oblivion Remastered and felt a familiar sense of freedom. The world feels open, classic, and welcoming. Exploration feels personal. You're not pushed in one direction, you choose your own. Cities feel alive in simple ways. Forests feel calm. Music feels nostalgic. This open world reminds you of a time when discovery was the main reward. Oblivion doesn't overwhelm, it invites. And sometimes, that's enough. The Elder Scrolls IV: Oblivion Remastered is a modernized version of Bethesda's classic open-world RPG, preserving the essence that made the original game remarkable, but updating its presentation and systems to meet the standards of the current generation. The experience remains centered on a vast open world, where the player has complete freedom to explore, evolve their character, and decide how to interact with the game universe. The gameplay structure maintains the pillars of the original Oblivion. Combat takes place in real time, allowing the use of melee weapons, bows, and spells, with confrontations that require positioning, attack timing, and resource management. Character progression follows a skill-based system, in which the character evolves as the player uses certain actions, such as fighting, casting spells, stealth, or persuasion. This model encourages personalized playstyles, allowing each character to develop uniquely throughout the journey. The world of Cyrodiil remains at the heart of the experience, filled with cities, towns, dungeons, ancient ruins, and varied landscapes. Players can follow the main narrative, or engage in numerous side quest lines, many of which are linked to iconic factions such as guilds and orders, each with their own stories, moral decisions, and consequences that influence the character's progression and perception of the world around them. The big news in the remastered version is the technical and visual reconstruction. The game has undergone a complete graphical overhaul, using modern rendering technologies, including advanced lighting, ray tracing, and high-resolution textures. Character models, environments, and objects have been updated, providing a more detailed and visually consistent world without losing the artistic identity of the original. The behavior of non-playable characters has also been improved. Artificial intelligence has been revised to make NPC routines more natural and responsive, increasing the feeling of a living world. Animations have been redone, resulting in more fluid movements in both combat and everyday interactions. In addition, the user interface and control schemes have been redesigned to better suit current consoles and PCs, offering greater comfort and accessibility to the player. In terms of sound, Oblivion Remastered features significant audio improvements, with new ambient sounds, more immersive environmental effects, and adjustments to some of the voices, enhancing the game's atmosphere and reinforcing the feeling of immersion during exploration and dialogue. The remaster also includes all previously released additional content. The Knights of the Nine and Shivering Isles expansions are integrated into the experience, offering complete campaigns, new areas, memorable characters, and stories that considerably expand the game's universe. Overall, The Elder Scrolls IV: Oblivion Remastered manages to balance nostalgia and modernization. It preserves the freedom, depth, and identity of the original RPG, while delivering visual, technical, and usability improvements that make the experience more fluid, immersive, and accessible for new players and veterans who want to revisit Cyrodiil in a new light.
No one's getting through.
Hey, there you are! We've got company! Opening fire!
Starfield. I played Starfield and felt the silence of space. Planets feel distant. Stars feel unreachable. Exploration here is slow and deliberate. Not every place feels alive, and that's intentional. There's a quiet loneliness in traveling between worlds. Moments where nothing happens, and you're left with curiosity. Starfield's open world isn't about spectacle. It's about scale, and how small you feel inside it. Starfield is an action RPG set in a vast science fiction universe, where the player takes on the role of a space explorer in a galaxy filled with star systems, planets, moons, and orbital stations. The experience can be played in either first or third person, allowing you to switch freely according to your preferred style, whether for total immersion or better visibility in combat and exploration. The game's main highlight is its scale. The Starfield universe is presented as a huge volume within the Milky Way, containing hundreds of planetary systems and over 1,000 explorable planets, as well as moons and space installations. Each celestial body has its own characteristics, such as gravity, atmosphere, and biomes, which directly influence gameplay. Most planetary surfaces are created by procedural generation, but points of interest, cities, and important missions receive manual treatment, ensuring variety and identity to the most relevant locations. During exploration, the player encounters several non-playable characters, some of whom can be recruited to join their crew. These companions are not just narrative support. They help in combat, carry equipment, interact with other NPCs, and react to decisions made throughout the story. Each companion has their own skills and can be assigned to ships or outposts built by the player, and some even allow for the development of romantic relationships. Character creation is quite detailed. The protagonist is silent and fully customizable, including appearance, body type, background, and personality traits. The choice of initial background grants specific skills, while traits add advantages and disadvantages that affect gameplay. Some of these traits can be removed or changed as the player progresses, making character development more flexible and responsive to the choices made. The progression system is based on levels and skills, organized into 5 major trees: physical, social, combat, science, and technology. As you gain experience, you unlock new skills and can improve them by completing related challenges, encouraging active use of each mechanic. Combat involves firearms, explosives, and melee weapons, with a strong focus on customization. Modifications such as sights, silencers, and accessories allow for varied playstyles, including stealthy or more aggressive approaches. Planetary exploration is deeply influenced by the gravity of each celestial body. On smaller planets, jumps are higher, and the use of the jetpack, called a boost pack, becomes even more strategic, both for combat and for traversing difficult terrain. In worlds with high gravity, movement becomes heavier, and the risk of fall damage increases, requiring constant adaptation by the player. Starfield also features a robust resource extraction and construction system. Before landing, planets and asteroids can be scanned to identify rare minerals and materials, which are used in the manufacture of equipment, weapons, and upgrades. The player can build outposts that function as bases, research centers, or mining facilities. These outposts can be equipped with laboratories, habitable areas, and workbenches, allowing for technological research and the production of items in different categories. Another fundamental pillar of the game is customization and space combat. The player can buy, steal, or build spaceships using an extremely detailed modular system. It is possible to change everything from the internal and external structure to weapons, engines, defensive systems, and decoration. Each choice affects the ship's performance, such as speed, cargo capacity, and jump range. During space battles, players must manage the distribution of energy between systems such as weapons, shields, and gravitational engines, adding a strategic layer to the confrontations. Interactions in space go beyond combat. NPC-controlled ships can be boarded, allowing for dialogue, trade, looting, or even complete takeover of the ship. Some illegal activities, such as transporting contraband, carry real risks, including fines, imprisonment, or attacks by security forces, depending on the location visited. Overall, Starfield offers an experience that combines large-scale space exploration, deep RPG, and complex customization systems. The game focuses on the player's freedom to define their path, whether as a lone explorer, crew commander, smuggler, scientist, or combatant, in a universe that reacts to the choices made and encourages constant curiosity.
To be really obsessed about it.
No paranoia, no weird.
I played GTA 5 and chaos felt normal. The world reacts to everything you do. The city is loud, crowded, unpredictable. Something is always happening whether you want it or not. Freedom here is limitless, but rarely peaceful. It's satire, absurdity, and violence blended together. This open world doesn't ask for immersion. It demands attention. GTA 5 is a playground and the rules are optional. Grand Theft Auto V is an open-world action-adventure game that places the player in a vast urban and rural setting, inspired by the fictional state of San Andreas, with a focus on the city of Los Santos. The game can be played in third person, with a first-person option available in the latest versions, offering a more immersive view during exploration, combat, and vehicle driving. The game combines missions with well-defined objectives and moments of total freedom. Outside of the main missions, players can freely explore the map, which is significantly larger and more diverse than in previous titles in the franchise. From dense urban neighborhoods to rural areas, deserts, mountains, and highways, the world is alive and full of side activities, random events, and interactions with characters and systems in the environment. The narrative stands out for allowing control of 3 playable protagonists: Michael DeSanta, a former bank robber trying to lead a stable life; Franklin Clinton, an ambitious young man seeking to rise in the world of crime; and Trevor Phillips, an unpredictable and extremely violent criminal. The stories of the 3 characters intertwine throughout the campaign, and the player can switch between them at almost any time, both during missions and in free exploration. In many situations, the game automatically switches characters to show simultaneous events or allow for different strategies. The combat system is varied and accessible, allowing the use of melee attacks, firearms, and explosives. Players can rely on cover and assisted aiming systems to face enemies more effectively. The character's health partially regenerates after taking damage, while full recovery requires the use of items, food, or visits to hospitals. If a character is defeated, they reappear in a hospital, maintaining the fluidity of gameplay. Mobility is one of the pillars of the game. It is possible to get around on foot or using a huge variety of vehicles, including cars, motorcycles, boats, helicopters, and planes, which dramatically expands the possibilities for exploration. Each vehicle has its own physics, and the game encourages both careful driving and chaotic high-speed chases. The player's illegal actions are monitored by a wanted level system, represented by stars. The more crimes are committed, the more intense the response from the authorities becomes, which can evolve from simple police cars to helicopters and special forces. To escape, players can hide, flee the patrol area, or even modify the vehicle's appearance to throw off the police. One of the campaign's highlights is the heist missions, which require strategic planning. In these missions, players must choose accomplices controlled by artificial intelligence, each with specific skills, such as driving or hacking. The choice of partners and approach directly influences the success of the mission, the division of money, and even the survival of those involved. Different strategies result in different experiences, encouraging multiple ways to play. Each protagonist has a set of evolving skills, such as shooting, driving, endurance, and stealth. In addition, each has a unique special ability. Michael can slow down time during shootouts, Franklin reduces time while driving vehicles, and Trevor enters a state of rage that increases damage dealt and reduces damage received. These abilities add depth to combat and driving, as well as reinforcing each character's personality. Outside of the main narrative, the game offers a wealth of side activities, such as sports, diving, golf, and random events scattered across the map. The characters use cell phones to interact with other NPCs, access activities, browse the game's internet, and even invest in a virtual stock market. It is also possible to purchase properties, customize vehicles, upgrade weapons, and modify the appearance of the protagonists with clothing, haircuts, tattoos, and accessories. Overall, Grand Theft Auto V delivers a complete open-world experience, combining cinematic storytelling, freedom of exploration, and deep gameplay systems. The game stands out for allowing multiple play styles, strategic decisions, and a constant sense of life in a dynamic world that reacts to the player's actions. It is one of the most ambitious action-adventure games ever created, offering the player an extremely vivid, chaotic, and detailed open-world experience. Overall, Grand Theft Auto V stands out for combining total freedom, engaging storytelling, and deep systems in a world that always seems to be on the move. It's a game that not only tells a story, but creates a setting where each player lives their own version of the chaos of Los Santos.
Welcome to DedSec. I'm Satara. This sweetheart is Josh. This weirdo's Wrench. And this is Horatio.
It's the crew, huh? Took y'all long enough to come get me.
I played Watch Dogs 2 and felt observed. The city watches back. Hacking turns the open world into a system. Traffic lights, cameras, phones, everything is connected. Exploration feels modern, digital, controlled. Violence isn't always necessary. Power comes from information, not weapons. The city becomes a puzzle. Watch Dogs 2 makes the open world feel smart and slightly unsettling. Watch Dogs 2 is an open-world action game that puts technology at the center of everything, transforming the city into a huge living network ready to be manipulated. The story takes place in San Francisco Bay, a vibrant and modern setting that mixes large urban centers, residential areas, industrial zones, and iconic Silicon Valley landscapes. The player takes on the role of Marcus Holloway, an extremely talented young hacker who has been unfairly labeled a criminal by an automated crime prediction system. This system, known as CTOS 2.0, controls virtually the entire city infrastructure, from traffic lights to the personal data of the population. After being accused of a crime he did not commit, Marcus decides to take on the system head-on, not only to clear his name, but to expose and bring down a technology that watches, manipulates, and punishes people based on flawed algorithms. To do so, he joins the hacker group DedSec, a collective that fights against the abuse of power by large corporations and digital surveillance. The great difference in Watch Dogs 2 is the freedom offered to the player. The world is completely open, and almost everything is connected to the internet, which allows you to hack an absurd amount of objects and systems. Security cameras, cell phones, drones, vehicles, automatic doors, cranes, and even satellites can be hacked and used to the player's advantage. This mechanic turns each mission into a real puzzle, where creativity is worth more than brute force. Although there are main and secondary missions, the game does not force the player to follow a single path. It is possible to complete objectives stealthily, without being seen, using drones and remote hacks, or to take a more aggressive approach, using firearms and facing enemies directly. This freedom of choice means that each player has a different experience, even when playing the same mission. Marcus's movement is also a highlight. He can climb buildings, run across rooftops, infiltrate restricted areas, and use the environment to his advantage. During chases, the player can interfere with traffic, raise barriers, blow up pipes, or take control of enemy vehicles, creating chaotic and cinematic scenes without firing a single shot. All actions performed in the game contribute to the character's progress. By completing missions, exploring the world, or performing side activities, Marcus gains experience points, which can be used to unlock new abilities. These improvements allow for more advanced hacks, greater control over devices, new playstyles, and even more creative approaches to problem solving. Even simple actions, such as hacking into small systems or helping DedSec members, can make a difference in the character's development. In addition to its gameplay, Watch Dogs 2 stands out for its lighter and more satirical tone compared to the first game. The narrative addresses current issues such as digital privacy, social media, data manipulation, and the power of technology companies, always with clear social criticism, but without losing the humor and youthful identity of the DedSec group. Overall, Watch Dogs 2 delivers an experience where the player is not just a combatant, but a digital strategist. The game rewards intelligence, creativity, and observation, turning the city into a weapon and the hacker into its main operator. It is a work that uniquely blends action, technology, and social criticism within the open-world genre. Death Stranding, and learn that walking matters. The world feels empty, but never meaningless. Every step has weight. Every delivery feels personal. There's no rush, no constant danger, just terrain, balance, and patience. The open world feels lonely, but calm. Death Stranding turns movement itself into gameplay, and silence into atmosphere. Death Stranding is an open-world action-adventure game that offers an experience totally different from the traditional standard of the genre. The camera follows the protagonist mainly in third person, but at specific moments it can switch to first person, reinforcing immersion and the feeling of isolation. The player controls Sam Porter Bridges, a lonely delivery man in a fragmented world, whose main mission is not to destroy enemies, but to reconnect what has been separated. The game takes place in a future, devastated version of the United States, where supernatural events have profoundly altered the relationship between the living and the dead. The map is vast, open, and fully explorable, featuring a wide variety of biomes: green and silent fields, dense forests, snow-covered frozen regions, dangerous mountain ranges, and arid areas marked by reddish tones. Each environment offers its own challenges, requiring constant adaptation from the player. The gameplay revolves around the act of transporting cargo. Before each delivery, the player must carefully plan their journey, choose how much weight to carry, decide what equipment to take, select weapons, transportation tools, and protective items. This planning is essential, as the terrain directly influences Sam's movement. Steep climbs, rushing rivers, slippery terrain, and constant weather changes make each journey unique. Movement is the true heart of Death Stranding. Unlike other games, walking is not automatic. The player must maintain Sam's balance, adjust his center of gravity according to the weight of the load, and react to natural obstacles. One miscalculated step can result in falls, damage to packages, and loss of efficiency. The game transforms the simple act of walking into a deep, strategic, and almost meditative mechanic. To facilitate deliveries, Sam can use motorized exoskeletons, which increase his strength, speed, or jumping ability. It is also possible to divide loads between the character's body and floating carriers, which expands the possibilities for long-distance travel. During combat, the player can even temporarily abandon the load to gain mobility, recovering it after dealing with the threat. In addition to movement, the player needs to manage several systems: health, physical endurance, equipment durability, load integrity, and energy consumption. A unique element is the Bridge Baby, BB, who helps Sam detect supernatural entities, but also has an emotional state that needs to be taken care of. Sam can rest, regain strength, and calm the baby, strengthening the bond between them, which directly impacts gameplay. Combat exists, but it is not the main focus. Although Sam has access to hand-to-hand combat and firearms, the game discourages lethal violence, especially against human enemies. Neutralizing, avoiding confrontation, or using stealth approaches is often more efficient and in line with the narrative proposal. The player can crouch, hide, observe enemy routes, or simply bypass dangerous areas. When Sam dies, Death Stranding breaks with traditional endgame logic. Instead, the player is taken to an inverted realm, a mysterious space where they can explore, recover lost items, and return to the world of the living. The consequences of the player's actions remain in the world, including events caused by death, reinforcing the feeling of a persistent and reactive universe. One of the game's most striking systems is the social connection system, an asynchronous multiplayer mode that connects players from around the world without direct interaction. Roads, bridges, stairs, shelters, and generators can be built and used collectively. Trails created by other players appear on the map, and the more they are used, the more efficient they become. Even when playing alone, the player is never completely isolated. Equipment, vehicles, and structures left behind by other players can be used freely, and the simple act of liking these contributions creates a sense of silent cooperation. The system is optional, does not require an online subscription, and reinforces the game's central message: connection, collaboration, and reconstruction. Death Stranding is not just a game about deliveries, but a contemplative experience that transforms displacement into meaning. It challenges the player to slow down, observe the world, and understand that every step taken can help not only themselves, but also others. It is a work that uniquely blends gameplay, narrative, and philosophy, redefining the concept of open world and social interaction in video games.
Help me! Help!
The Witcher 3 and felt moral complexity everywhere. The world doesn't offer easy answers. Side quests feel like full stories. Choices feel heavy. Villages feel lived in. Landscapes feel dangerous. This open world reacts to your decisions, not just your actions. The Witcher 3 isn't about being a hero. It's about surviving in a broken world. The Witcher 3: Wild Hunt is an open-world action RPG that represents the ultimate evolution of the series created by CD Projekt Red. While preserving the core of previous games, Wild Hunt dramatically expands the scale, freedom, and depth of the mechanics, offering a rich, dense, and extremely vivid experience. The player once again takes on the role of Geralt of Rivia, a professional monster-hunting witcher, on a journey marked by difficult choices, moral conflicts, and real consequences. Combat has been completely redesigned to make battles more fluid and strategic. The system mixes quick and strong attacks with dodges, blocks, and the constant use of spells known as Witcher signs. Igni, Quen, Erden, Axi, and Ard return, but now each has variations and alternative uses, allowing for different approaches depending on the enemy and the situation. Players can combine swords, signs, bombs, potions, and oils to create specific strategies against each creature. One of the great new features is the use of Witcher's senses, which function as an investigative tool. With them, Geralt can track footprints, analyze smells, hear distant sounds, and reconstruct events, turning many missions into real investigations. This reinforces the narrative side of the game, and makes the player feel like they are truly in the role of an experienced hunter. Movement has also been expanded. Geralt can now jump, climb obstacles, swim, and dive, which significantly increases the exploration of the world. Horseback combat and battles on the high seas add new layers of variety to the gameplay, while the crossbow emerges as a useful alternative weapon against flying enemies or in specific situations. The system for crafting items, potions, and equipment remains true to the series' identity, but has been refined to be more accessible. Preparation remains essential. Studying the enemy, choosing the right oils, drinking potions before combat, and adjusting skills makes all the difference. The Witcher 3 rewards players who plan and observe, rather than just attacking impulsively. One of the most striking aspects of the game is the impact of the player's choices. Every decision, whether in main or side quests, can profoundly alter the fate of characters, entire villages, and even entire regions of the map. Many quests have multiple solutions, different endings, and consequences that only reveal themselves hours later, making each journey unique. The game world is vast and detailed, with distinct regions such as dense forests, dangerous swamps, war-torn villages, bustling cities, and wild islands. A dynamic day and night cycle influences the behavior of NPCs and monsters. Some creatures become more dangerous at night, while others only appear under specific conditions, such as a full moon or storms. Artificial intelligence contributes to an extremely lively atmosphere. Characters follow routines, react to the weather, comment on recent events, and respond to Geralt's actions. Even seemingly simple details, such as the gradual growth of Geralt's beard over time, help reinforce the feeling of the passing of days and the long journey traveled. Another highlight is Gwent, the collectible card game that replaces the old dice games. Far from being just a mini-game, Gwent has become a phenomenon in its own right, with deep rules, varied strategies, and tournaments around the world. For many players, it becomes a side activity as addictive as the main story itself. Narratively, Wild Hunt does not require prior knowledge of the series. The game introduces its characters and conflicts in an accessible way, allowing new players to fully enjoy the experience. In addition to Geralt, the game also features Ciri, a playable character with unique abilities and central importance to the plot, expanding the variety of gameplay and the emotional weight of the story. With an extensive campaign, dozens of deep side quests, and a world full of content, more than an RPG, it is a work that combines mature storytelling, meaningful choices, and a world that constantly reacts to the player's actions, establishing itself as one of the greatest and most influential games in history. Ghost of Yotei and felt isolation as atmosphere. The world feels cold, quiet, distant. Exploration feels introspective. Silence is intentional. Movement feels slow, thoughtful, Every location feels abandoned, but meaningful. This open world doesn't overwhelm, it isolates. And in that isolation, it creates reflection. Ghost of Yotei is an open-world action-adventure game played in third person, which expands and reinvents the ideas presented in Ghost of Tsushima, taking the experience to an even more ambitious scale. Set in the Izo region, a wilder and more brutal area of feudal Japan, the game puts the player in control of Atsu, a warrior marked by loss, survival, and revenge, in a world shaped by violence, extreme nature, and legends. Exploration is one of the central pillars of the experience. Players have complete freedom to traverse different regions of Ezo, each with its own identity, specific challenges, unique allies, and enemies that require different approaches. Snow-capped mountains, dense forests, isolated villages, and areas dominated by hostile factions create a map that encourages both curiosity and planning. The world is alive, reacting to the player's choices and the order in which events are faced. The combat system has been thoroughly revamped since Tsushima. The old stance system has been replaced by a weapon-based counterattack system, where each type of weapon offers specific advantages against certain enemy archetypes. Atsu begins his journey with only a katana, but throughout the game he unlocks a varied arsenal, including yari, spear, kusarigama, chain sickle, odachi, heavy two-handed sword, and even the use of two katanas simultaneously. This diversity makes combat more strategic, requiring constant adaptation rather than repetition. Ranged combat has also been expanded. Bows such as Hankyu and Yumi return, offering stealthy and accurate options, while primitive firearms such as Tanegashima and Tanzutsu introduce a new rhythm to battles. These weapons bring high power, but require care in use, reinforcing the idea of risk and reward. In addition, the grappling hook, available from the start, increases mobility and allows for vertical approaches in both combat and exploration. Classic elements return, such as combo attacks that must be parried with precision, and unblockable strikes that require timely dodges. Among the new features are disarming attacks, which can cause Atsu or his enemies to lose their weapons, and the ability to pick up weapons lying on the ground and throw them back, creating chaotic and unpredictable situations during fights. Stealth remains a viable and rewarding option. Atsu can sneak through the shadows, silently eliminate enemies, or manipulate the environment to her advantage. An important difference is the ability to summon a wolf, which can assist in both direct confrontations and stealthy approaches, reinforcing the protagonist's spiritual connection with nature and the legends of the region. The world of Ghost of Yotei stands out for its dynamic weather effects, inspired by the real conditions around Mount Yotei. Heavy snowstorms, persistent rain, and even the northern lights are not just visual elements, but influence the atmosphere, visibility, and sense of isolation. The weather helps tell silent stories, reinforcing the game's melancholic and contemplative tone. Narratively, the game adopts a non-linear structure, allowing the player to choose the order in which they face the dreaded 6 Yotei, with specific exceptions that shape the beginning and end of the journey. This freedom strengthens the sense of agency and allows each player to enjoy a unique experience, both in terms of pace and emotional impact. Side missions are deeper and more varied, going beyond simple tasks. Bounty hunts, weapon mastery challenges, and NPC personal stories help expand the world and develop Atsu as a character. Many of these activities result in direct improvements in skills and attributes, encouraging full exploration of the map. Atsu can also set up camps, which serve as rest and preparation points. There, it is possible to recover health and stamina, cook meals that grant temporary bonuses, craft ammunition, and trade with vendors. This system reinforces the survival aspect of the game and creates natural breaks between moments of tension. Classic side activities return, such as bathing in onsen, cutting bamboo, and searching for amulets guided by foxes. New experiences have been added, such as sumi-e painting, gambling with zini hajiki, and learning songs on the shamisen. The instrument can even be used to modify the guide wind, a system that guides the player without breaking immersion. Visually and stylistically, Ghost of Yotei offers striking cinematic modes. Kurosawa mode returns, transforming the game into a tribute to classic black and white films. In addition, 2 new modes inspired by the works of Takashi Miike and Shinichiro Watanabe bring unique visual and audio identities, allowing players to choose how they want to experience the narrative. Finally, the game expands its experience with the announcement of Ghost of Yotei, Legends, a cooperative mode that will continue Legends of Tsushima. With story missions for 2 players and survival challenges for 4, the mode promises intense confrontations against monstrous versions of the 6 Yotei and creatures inspired by Japanese mythology, reinforcing the mystical side of the universe. Ghost of Yotei presents itself as a bold evolution, combining refined combat, narrative freedom, strong artistic identity, and a world that blends brutality and beauty. It is an experience that values both action and contemplation, inviting the player to forge their own path in a land shaped by steel, honor, and legends. The Legend of Zelda. Tears of the Kingdom and felt creative freedom. The world encourages experimentation. There's no single solution, no correct path. Exploration feels playful. Discovery feels rewarding. The open world trusts the player. It lets you fail, learn, and try again. This world doesn't limit imagination. It celebrates it. The Legend of Zelda. Tears of the Kingdom ambitiously expands on everything presented in Breath of the Wild, maintaining its open-world action and adventure foundation, but transforming Hyrule into an even more vertical, experimental, and creative space. The game once again puts the player in the role of Link, but now in a world that has been profoundly altered, both physically and narratively, encouraging constant exploration and free experimentation. Hyrule remains the central setting, but is now only part of a much larger ecosystem. In addition to the familiar surface reshaped by events that have changed villages, landscapes, and characters, the world expands into 2 new layers, the skies and the depths. This structure creates a sense of a 3-dimensional world, where the player not only traverses horizontal distances, but also explores extreme heights and dangerous depths. The floating islands in the sky serve as great challenges of logic, navigation, and skill. Many of them require careful planning to reach, using the paraglider, improvised constructions, or creative combinations of skills. On these islands, the player encounters puzzles, unique enemies, ancient secrets, and even bosses, reinforcing the idea that the sky is not just scenery, but a living area full of purpose. In direct contrast, the depths represent the most hostile and oppressive side of the world. It is a gigantic underground region, plunged into almost total darkness, where visibility is limited and dangers are constant. The player must light the way, deal with treacherous terrain, lava, and a corrosive substance that temporarily weakens Link, reducing his maximum vitality. This effect forces the player to balance risk and reward, as the greatest treasures are often found in the most dangerous areas. Exploration remains extremely free. Link can climb virtually any surface, ride long distances, glide with his paraglider, or simply improvise entirely new routes using the tools at his disposal. The game rarely imposes a single path, preferring to give the player a set of systems and let them solve problems in their own way. One of the biggest differences in Tears of the Kingdom is its new powers, which completely replace the Shake-a-Slate abilities. These new mechanics are not just isolated tools, but interconnected systems that encourage creativity and constant experimentation. The Ultra Hand allows you to manipulate objects in the environment, move them freely, and connect them to each other. With it, players can create makeshift bridges, strange machines, or functional vehicles using pieces scattered throughout the world. This ability turns almost any obstacle into a physical puzzle that can be solved in multiple ways. The fusion ability takes equipment customization to another level. Weapons, shields, and even arrows can be combined with virtually any material found in the world. This results in unique equipment, unexpected effects, and creative solutions for both combat and exploration. Each fusion carries a sense of improvisation, reinforcing the idea of survival and adaptation. Ascend completely redefines vertical navigation, allowing Link to traverse solid surfaces from bottom to top. This ability changes the way the player reads the scenery, transforming ceilings, caves, and structures into possible alternative routes, often avoiding long detours or unnecessary confrontations. Rewind introduces time control as a strategic tool. By reversing the movement of objects, players can turn dangerous events into opportunities, such as using a fallen rock to reach elevated areas or manipulating ancient mechanisms. It is a skill that rewards observation and creativity. Finally, Self-construction allows players to instantly recreate previously assembled structures, using nearby pieces, or replacing missing items with zonite. This speeds up experimentation, and encourages players to create recurring solutions, almost like building a personal repertoire of inventions. Zonai devices complement these skills, functioning as modular pieces that can be used for combat, locomotion, or puzzles. Rockets, fans, wheels, and platforms allow you to create everything from simple vehicles to complex machines, reinforcing the game's almost experimental nature. Narratively, the game revisits classic elements of the franchise, including themed dungeons, something highly requested by fans. The main temples linked to elements such as water, wind, fire, and lightning combine exploration, elaborate puzzles, and boss battles, serving as major milestones in the story's progression. Classic elements also return, such as the shrines, scattered throughout the world, which serve as compact challenges focused on logic, physics, and mastery of skills. Upon completing them, the player receives rewards that can be converted into more stamina or more hearts, allowing them to customize Link's playstyle. Korok seeds continue to encourage thorough exploration of the map, rewarding curiosity with practical inventory upgrades. The new recipe system makes it easier to manage food and elixirs, making preparation less repetitive and more strategic. Overall, Tears of the Kingdom is not just a sequel, but a direct evolution of the philosophy of freedom introduced in Breath of the Wild. The game trusts the player, offers powerful tools, and allows each challenge to be solved in almost infinite ways. It is an experience that blends adventure, creativity, and constant discovery, transforming Hyrule into a true laboratory of possibilities.
You Crucio, or I can cast it on you. I'm ready. Crucio!
Hogwarts Legacy, and felt nostalgia. The world feels familiar, warm, and inviting. Exploration feels magical, not stressful. Details reward curiosity. This open world isn't about challenge, it's about immersion. Walking through this world feels like visiting a dream, one you already recognize. Hogwarts Legacy is a third-person action RPG that invites players to experience an unprecedented fantasy within the Wizarding World universe, set many years before the events of Harry Potter. In the role of a student with a special magical talent, players attend Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry while exploring not only the castle, but also the entire surrounding region, including villages, forests, and dangerous areas full of mysteries. From the outset, the game focuses heavily on immersion. Character creation allows you to define appearance, voice, body type, and other visual details, giving players the freedom to create their own wizard or witch. Next, the Sorting Hat assigns the character to a house, Gryffindor, Hufflepuff, Ravenclaw, or Slytherin, and this choice directly influences the experience, as each house has its own unique common rooms, set with their own identity, as well as unique missions and narrative moments. Hogwarts Castle functions as a large interconnected world. Secret corridors, moving staircases, hidden rooms, and magical areas reinforce the feeling of constant discovery. As the player progresses, the game features a seasonal system, visually altering the environment and bringing new atmospheres to the interior and exterior of the castle, which helps to keep the world constantly refreshed. Lessons are an essential part of the narrative progression. Although they do not function as traditional learning minigames, they serve as important milestones in the story, unlocking spells, skills, and new mechanics. Throughout the game, the character learns a wide variety of spells, which can be used in combat as well as in exploration and puzzle solving. The combination of these spells allows the player to develop their own playing style, whether focused on crowd control, direct attacks, strategic use of the environment, or even the aid of magical creatures. The progression system is based on levels and challenges. Exploring the world, collecting pages from the field guide, completing main and side quests, and facing enemies grants experience, allowing you to unlock talents and improve skills. These talents help shape your character, making combat more efficient and adaptable to different situations. Combat in Hogwarts Legacy mixes real-time action with magic. Players must quickly switch spells, use dodges and counterattacks, and control enemies with various magical effects. Potions and magical plants also play an important role, functioning as support tools capable of healing, strengthening, or causing negative effects on enemies. Overall, Hogwarts Legacy offers a complete experience for fans of the magical universe, and also for those looking for a well-structured open-world action RPG. It combines exploration, narrative, customization, and magical combat in a living, detailed world full of possibilities, allowing each player to live their own story as a Hogwarts student. What did you think of the video? Which game is your favorite? Leave your suggestions in the comments. Thank you.